Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Triple N Talk Show. I am Dr. Nik Nikam, and we have two interesting programs this evening. First, we are going to be talking to Dr. Venugopal Menon, who is an allergy and asthma specialist, and he's going to talk about his life journey here in the United States and also about the memoirs he has written, which is available on Amazon.com. And during second half of the hour, we are going to be educated about the boom and bust of oil supply and oil prices. So we learn what is driving all these oil prices and oil supplies. Is this man-made or is this for real? Okay, let's start off with Dr. Venugopal Menon. Dr. Menon, welcome to Triple
Good
N
evening,
Talk
Dr.
Show.
Nikam. Good evening.
We are delighted to have you. Give us a little bit about your background.
First of all, let me express my gratitude for having invited me.
Sure, yeah.
It's so very kind of you, and also I would like to applaud your efforts to do such as social service, many things of which are of use to the community.
Oh, thank you.
I want to congratulate you. It takes a lot of effort, time, and resources, so we recognize that. Coming to my book, it's about my life. And it's called, my mother called me Unni. It's a pet name in Kerala.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here's the cover of this book, which is My Mother Called Unni, and a Doctor's Tale from Migration by Dr. Venugopal Menon, and it is currently available on Amazon.com. Okay, give us a little bit about your background as to where you come from and your little journey up to this point.
I am 78 years old, but I have spent more time in United States. I left when I was about 30 years old. So the rest of the time, I was short-lived in Scotland for a year. Then came on the East Coast to did my pediatrics. And after that, I finished my pediatric boards and then came to Houston Baylor College for the fellowship in allergy immunology. And I joined one of the very famous McGovern Allergy Clinic, and I worked with them for almost 40 years before I retired.
So you were the president of the McGovern Allergy
8 years
Asthma Clinic.
Exactly. For 8 years, I was repeatedly elected or chosen as the president.
That's fascinating.
Thank you. It was a big recognition.
It's a long journey coming from, you're from where? Trivandrum, right?
I went to med school in Trivandrum. I was born and brought up in a city called Cochin, which is in the middle of the state. And then I went to Trivandrum. I said, that's the only medical school at that time.
I see,
After that, I had about 4 years serving the Indian Army when the Chinese invasion happened.
I see,
Volunteered to serve in the Army Medical Corps. After I left that, brief period, I was in the state service, and then I left the country. And then coming here, after the training and after getting into practice and doing very successfully, I felt like it is my kind of obligation or duty to go back. And I tried a stint of 3 years in Madras.
I see,
When Apollo Hospital was formed, Dr. Reddy invited me.
I see.
I went there and for so many reasons I couldn't continue that. So I came back, and fortunately my clinic and colleagues embraced me back into the practice.
That's interesting. Okay, you're also very, very deeply involved with the cultural and spiritual aspects of Indian life. Tell us about your connection with the Meenakshi Temple.
Oh, I have been involved with many causes, religious, social, philanthropic, all kinds of things. Meenakshi Temple, when we came, there was no temple, no place. We have 3 children, and we didn't have any place to, connect them with our culture or religious background. So we used to have prayers in the people's homes and garages and all. So finally, we got an offer from Madurai Meenakshi Temple in Tamil Nadu, and we grabbed that, and I was involved. I was with the founders. A few of us joined together and created that, and that it has blossomed into something which we so
yeah.
beyond our wildest imagination.
I know, they just had what a week ago.
You were there, and I saw the YouTube.
Yeah, we were able to live broadcast on YouTube, and which was relayed in Chennai. So that was a great function, and that was also followed by a excellent Carnatic classical music by Kriti,
very young lady,
which was fascinating. And we videotaped and put her on her program on YouTube. We have more than 2,000 views on that already.
I saw that too.
Okay, let's get back to your what inspired you to write these memoirs.
It's a very, very relevant question. To begin with, I didn't want to.
Yeah.
I didn't want to at all. I didn't have any thoughts of writing my own memoirs.
Yeah.
But then when I was retired, my children, I made them write the foreword.
Yeah.
My 3 children did the foreword, and they were the biggest encouragement.
I see.
Dad, you were so busy with your practice and all that. Yeah. Now that you have plenty of time, and write about yourself. What's the relevance for a life like mine, average? But what it means a lot to them. Because having come from India,
that's true. Yeah,
they thought it has to be, somebody has to leave that, and I'm the best person to leave that history or cultural heritage or life we left behind, so that they can connect with their past, with their ancestry, and that's when I started writing. Number 2 is to utilize the time which was available. But even though they were the starting points, the biggest pleasure or accomplishment was when I started writing, I had to revisit my past, my childhood.
I know.
How I became what I am today is because what my parents and grandparents offered me or gave me a life. So that I started enjoying revisiting the childhood. And I was smiling at sometimes, crying at some other time. So it was a revelation that you're revisiting your childhood. That was the biggest accomplishment that came out of that writing.
That's fascinating. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Nik Nikam Network Talk Show, Triple N Talk Show. And this whole program of Triple N Media is about capturing Indian experience here in the Houston area and from around the world. And as a matter of fact, all our programs are live video streamed to YouTube and Google+. And we have over more than 700 videos accenting our Indian experience in the Houston area. And while we are talking about the YouTube, you can also visit, if you can download our NNN Media app for Android or Apple devices. So that you can watch these interviews live on your smartphones, tablets, or on your computers. And we would also encourage you to visit our YouTube channel, and then please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. And you can also visit our Facebook page, which is Nik Nikam Network, where we keep you abreast of what is happening in and around the Houston area and from around the world. Our special guest today is Dr. Venugopal Menon, and he is talking about his life and legacy journey in the United States and about the new book that he has written, which is Memoirs of his childhood and his whole life. Okay, let's continue with what are the things that we can expect to see in this book.
You know, when we started talking about, we exchanged some emails. Very relevant question. What is the relevance of one life? What's the relevance of my life to be written? I think every life is so it's an endowment from God, if you may. And to get a human life, it's a biggest accomplishment, if you may. And having lived that, and having used the space, the resource of the world, and your interaction with people, I think you're obligated to leave a receipt when you leave.
That's true, yes.
You cannot go and eat in a restaurant without paying them. So this is my receipt to the world, to my legacy, to my children, grandchildren. And it's also more relevant because I left it haunted me. Even now it does haunt me sometimes, leaving the legacy or traditions of centuries old heritage, in all the customs, everything we left looking for a better life for ourselves and our children. That has to be established, because our future generation won't have any connection with that unless they can go back to whatever their father might
that is true. So
that's
absolutely right.
reference.
And I truly believe in, and propagating our Indian heritage, culture, and traditions, because at the end of the day, what we study in colleges and all this is going to help us pay our electric bill and utilities. But we need food for the mind and for the soul.
Absolutely.
And that's where all of the cultural heritage comes in playing a big role.
And we do have Indian traditions and culture and history, all of that goes back thousands of years. And
let's talk about what was the best part of this experience of writing this particular
As I mentioned earlier, best part of was revisiting old times. It's how I was brought up. I was born in end of 1937, in fact. And this was a time of global depression. And India was under British rule. So I was exposed to all that, and I was 10 years old when India got independence. So it's a lots of stories to and experience to be shared. So my best experience of writing the book was revisiting those times and the people who I loved, and they are gone. So thinking about those times. And
do you remember anything about the British rule during the early years, or
briefly,
was it too?
Briefly, I very clearly remember the day of independence. I was 10 years old. In 10 years, you can.
I know.
And I remember Nehru came as a prime minister. He visited, and I have not seen Gandhiji. I was 11 years old when he was shot, assassinated. But he was very familiar, and he was the kind of a godlike figure.
That's right.
Honesty and ahimsa and the non-violence and all that. So those are the things which I grew up with.
That's fascinating. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching a Triple N talk show, which is being live video streamed to YouTube and also Google Plus. And please do visit our YouTube channel, which is Nik Nikam. And please do subscribe to our YouTube and Google channels. And you can also visit our Facebook page, which is Nik Nikam Network. And we live broadcast our talk shows every Wednesdays between 6 and 7 p.m. We at least have 2 guests where we discuss in depth about various topics that are of interest to ourselves. And so tell us about the most difficult part of writing a book.
Difficult part was very clearly, and I told you I'm 78 years old. So to condense 78 years of life into 300 pages, what do you leave off? It's so much. That job of concising, condensing, and limiting it to that was the most difficult part.
So what message do you really want to convey to people who want to read, who would like to get from this book?
If I have to limit it to one message, it's a request. It's a very forcible request for every individual. Every life is important to be recorded and left behind. I think each of you listeners, please spare your time. 10 pages, 1,000 pages, whatever it's worth, you owe it to humanity, and you owe it your legacy to leave something behind. I would very strongly recommend that. That's one thing. My life may be just relevant to my children or my close friends, but for the rest of the people, every human being.
Oh, you certainly have made a significant impact in the Houston for the last 40 years in the field of allergy and asthma and immunology, because you have contributed so much and you have helped thousands of patients over the years.
One thing is that I was fortunate to be associated with one of the earliest established. He was a pioneer, Dr. McGovern.
That's right.
If you read the news 2 weeks ago, McGovern Foundation gave $75 million the University of Texas Medical School.
UT. Oh, that's amazing.
That is, we have a little part we played in that.
That's absolutely fascinating.
So that is, and suffering people, that. And also I was being one of the first Indians in town.
Yeah.
Our group, our generation, or our age group people started every Indian thing. Now we have 23 temples and about 100 organizations.
Associations.
But
in fact, I have interviewed most of them on our NNN media.
you did that life history project. So India Culture Center, India House, Indo-American Charity Foundation, Daya, Pratham, all these things we were the pioneers to have started. And now the more able, younger, more affluent, more afford, people are taking over, and they are doing an excellent job.
That's fascinating. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about Dr. Venugopal Menon. He has written a book which is called My Mother Called Me Unni, a doctor's tale of a migration by Dr. Venugopal Menon. And this is available at Amazon.com. And you can just visit there and get a copy of this. Okay, let's talk about some of the special instances in your life. Maybe you can mention a couple of these.
The concept of shortage of time, I don't have many, but I was thinking about 3-4 things.
Yeah.
When, I was in school, we had a Jewish population in Kochi.
Is that right?
And the first Jewish synagogue was in Kochi. There was a Jew town.
Yeah.
And one of my teachers, favorite teachers, was a Jewish teacher.
Yeah.
And we had about 30 Jewish students in our school. And there was a street called Jewish Students. If you want to buy bananas, you go there. And in 1950-51, when Israel was formed, all of them, almost all of them, except the affluent Jews, stayed back.
Yeah.
All the rest of them went to Israel.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And in that context, I want to say something, one incident which happened. They wear something called kippah.
Yeah,
that's what the cap, the Jewish.
Yeah.
And one of our students called Neelakandan, he was my classmate.
Yeah.
I don't want to read it, but I will mention that. The incidents, at lunchtime, he pulled the kippah of one of the Jewish boys.
Yeah.
And it's a big insult. Very big insult. By the time the classes started, so we all got in, but we all knew there's something going to happen. And so when the school was out, over at 4 o'clock, the bell rang.
Yeah.
And Neelakandan walked over. He was a big guy by that time. Even though we were all smaller, about 20 or 25 Jewish students surrounded him.
Yeah.
But then he cornered himself into one corner.
Yeah.
And then he took out his belt and started slashing the boy. So it went on for 10 minutes. And by the time some teachers came and intervened, and that was the end of it. That's one thing. Another one, I want to talk about I have something about my grandfather.
Yes.
He was kind of all kinds of a special character.
Yeah.
And so he was a king's chauffeur. It's a big position, but he was one of the very few. Not too many people had cars, but he had a motorbike at that time. Yeah. This was about 100 years or so ago.
I know.
And he was a chauffeur of the king of Kochi. But he was married to my grandmother. But he had some side interests. And he was going on with some affairs. And the king called an admonishment. This is not allowed here.
Yeah.
And he told the king that, it's my personal business. It's none of yours. You may be the king. So he was fired.
Yeah.
But then he filed a suit against the king.
Oh.
This was about, I would say, 90, 100 years ago. But he couldn't enter the state of Kochi.
I see.
So what he did was he came in the train. He sat in the train. The train belonged to the British.
I see, yeah.
So the king didn't have any jurisdiction.
I see.
So his attorney will come to the train, discuss with him, and they fought against the king.
Yeah.
And he won against the king.
So this is in a British court?
British court. It was a state court.
State court.
State court.
Yeah.
Only British thing was the train, so he could sit there.
Yeah.
And the state court ruled against the king, and he kind of went around, paraded, and proclaimed his victory against the king. That's one thing. And I want to say a little bit about, don't have much of time, let me see. This I'll probably read it.
Gentlemen, you're watching the Triple N talk show. I'm Dr. Nik Nikam, and my special guest is Dr. Venugopal Menon. We are talking about his memoirs, a new book, My Mother Called Me Uni, which you can get it on Amazon.com. Okay.
Something I want to mention. I come from Kerala.
Yeah.
Kerala is the most educated, culturally so-called, established state.
Yeah.
But communists came to rule that state. This is the first anywhere in the world a democratic communism started. So I wonder why communism came to.
That's interesting. I never heard of. I mean, I heard of some communists in the northern part of India, but maybe you can enlighten us on
Kerala is after 50 years. They between Congress and communists, they are still ruling democratically. This is what I wrote about it. During one of my earlier trips, when I dared to drive, I was with my father as my passenger.
Yeah.
And the traffic seemed to have stalled in one of the unpaved roads when the car in front of us was honking frantically.
Yeah.
As I got down and walked to find out what happened, I saw a frail man struggling to pull his heavily loaded cart stuck in mud. As the honking car with its impatient driver and annoyed boss sat in fury against a hapless laborer, I moved forward, lifted and tied my mundu, that's the cloth, and joined the laborer to push the cart out of the rut.
Lungi,
kind of. Yeah. So I pushed the cart, helped him, and as he thanked me for the gesture, I walked to the car with the honking driver, and with as much disgust I could gather, shouted at his boss, "Shame on you to sit and hoot instead of helping the poor man." That's one part of it. Okay, so they took advantage of the poor class or that. But the other side, another time, I was on the same trip, I was driving with my father on a narrow road along a canal when an auto rickshaw came from the opposite direction and scraped our car.
Oh.
This was... So although we were stationary, he stopped and furiously blamed me for not having moved even farther to the side. When I got out and started arguing with him, I immediately realized my folly. A crowd of other auto rickshaw drivers, pedestrians, and cyclists had gathered by then, surrounding us and demanding that I pay for the repair of the auto rickshaw.
Oh,
so they scraped me, but some were mumbling at us, disgust. You are the rich capitalists. This enraged me, but I was also terrified for myself and for my father's sake, since the demand was only 100 rupees.
I see.
And we were vastly outnumbered. I quietly gave him the ransom and withdrew, swallowing my pride and escaping the scene before things got ugly.
That is
so this
true.
is the two extremes, they were, and now what's happening is, after there is no labor thing there. Kerala has lost all the industries because of the, of course, the labor leaders are taking advantage of that. That's
I see.
So it's a pity. Any more?
We can do one more.
One more. Okay. We'll continue. This is probably of interest to most of us. When he came, this was a strange land, and there were not too many. Unlike now, all this, Facebook and all that. Even to make a call, we had to wait 3-4 days to get connected. And by the time we get connected, we hardly say, "Hello, can you hear me?" And that's it. Phone. You're okay. I'm okay. That's about it. My uncle died, and it took me 2 weeks to find out when the letter came. Because there was no way of communication. So, want to read a little bit about in so we want to be Americanized.
Yeah.
You know, we were not familiar with many things. In our pursuit to be Americanized, Devi and I took up ballroom dancing lessons. Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers were familiar to me, and it was fun to watch them. We found a reputable school and signed up for 3 months of classes. It was fun as we learned the steps and movements of foxtrot, waltz, quick step, and tango. The teacher had ambitions for us and ventured to impose samba, rumba, cha-cha-cha, and the like. Even we thought we may become good dancers, enjoy it, but after a while I realized that I was not cut out to do anything. I even tried dancing during wedding parties and made a fool of myself. But Devi, my wife, was different. She believed that she knew dancing.
Yeah.
And she did. She often coached her group of ladies to do the old Kai Gottikali Onam, Kai Gottikali dance, many other cultural nights. And she tried her best to convince our teacher, the American, that the fundamental steps of the dance, whether it's foxtrot or waltz or anything else, have to be based on Kai Gottikali, as she kept on folding her knees and bending in sideways irrespective of the music. So after some time, we quit and we were looking for other ways of westernization. I think I will stop that there.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching a Triple N talk show. I am Dr. Nik Nikam, and we would like you to download our app, which is NNN Media, on your smartphones and smart tablets. So you can watch our interviews, which are live video streamed to Google and also YouTube. And while you're on YouTube, you can watch more than 600, 700 videos we have accenting our Indian experience. And this will also go into our archives of video collections of our Indian experience here in the Houston area. If you would like to be a guest on our program, and give us a call, our number is 281-745-4161. And my special guest is Dr. Venugopal Menon, and his most recent book he has written is My Mother Called Me Unni, a doctor's tale of migration by Dr. Venugopal Menon, and you can find this on Amazon.com. Okay, did you handwrite it, type it, or dictate? How did you?
No, I used the computer.
Oh, computer.
Yeah, I made the Word document. The basics I know about that.
Yeah,
and that's how. So every day I would devote as much as 3, 4, 6 hours sometimes.
Yeah.
So it was enjoyable. It was an enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
So
So how long did it take you to complete this book?
altogether, I would say 4 to 5 years.
4 to 5 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it was interrupted when I was not in a mood or something, I wouldn't write it. But when I do that, then it took much longer, more than half of the time was going back and rewriting it, because I didn't like what I wrote and the sequence.
That's why I think, when you start off writing a book, it evolves.
You
and
have done
matures
it.
with
I
time.
have read
Because,
your
I
book.
have written 4 books, and when I started off, what I had in my mind was not what the final
coming
product
out.
turns out to be.
Yeah.
But we ourselves kind of mature and become more wiser.
Wiser.
I would say.
And it's a learning experience. It's a learning experience. What I think, and we have so much to convey. We tell the story of every migrant, every migrant.
Yeah.
Because this day and age, people move from one place to another. They bring with them something of their background, and they contribute to the place where. So I think it's a great thing that world has become much smaller, and cultures have blended, even though all kinds of problems are going on. I think we are much better humans now or much more exposed humans than what we used to be when we were children.
So what do you expect in the next leg of your journey in life?
Some nursing home, maybe.
As a doctor?
What? That's what, I, feel the age.
Yeah.
And the aging process is getting faster as you advance in years. So,
my philosophy is, as long as you're ambulatory and
Absolutely.
able to do things, I
Do the
see
best
no
you can.
limitation. I just keep on going. I mean, there's no point in, just drawing lines or, changing expectations.
You
and all
have
these things.
to say, it's a divine endowment.
Yeah.
Life is. So you have to make the best use of it. So that's, I feel fortunate that at least this far I have been, productive in many aspects, and still keep myself very busy, apart from the book, other involvements, social involvements and all.
Dr. Menon, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and good luck with your book. And ladies and gentlemen, we're just going to switch gears, and we'll be back, and we're going to talk about the boom and bust in oil supplies and prices, and is this man-made or real? We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Thank you very much.